4 weeks ago, I did a post about the nature of reality. And 2 weeks ago, I did a post on energy. These posts were the start of what was going to be a series of posts on the latest advances in science and understanding of reality and how it applies to you creating the best version of yourself, which is what this blog is all about in the first place. However, as I meditated on this approach and how to walk you through all of this stuff, it occurred to me that there are probably others out there in the world that have already created posts on all of this latest scientific advances and have done it much better than I have. So I really wanted to focus on the outcomes of this latest science and not walking you through how to get there. And when I let go of my plan, it turns out my intuition was correct. As soon as I had the thought about finding other sources for this content, I had 2 posts show up in my YouTube suggested feed that were perfect. The first was quantum gravity research, and the link is in the notes. And the second was PBS Spacetime. Again, the link is in the notes. First, let me say that I don't buy into everything that these 2 sites are saying. For example, the quantum gravity research assumes that reality has self-organized, but they don't really say from what. So to me, it's a gap in their thesis. However, on the quantum gravity research channel, they have 2 really fun videos, What is Reality and Hacking Reality, that are great, funny, engaging overviews of the latest physics research on reality. And the PBS Spacetime channel has great videos on the history and findings of both classical and quantum physics researchers. The science on these 2 sites is solid, so if you want to indulge yourself in all the nitty-gritty detail, please dive in and consume as much as you want here. There's quite a bit there. But what I really want to spend time on are what are some of the things that this contemporary science is telling us about our experience of this space-time universe that we find ourselves in. Number 1, space-time is made up of energy. Number 2, energy is information. Number 3, the past and the future appear to exist in the present. In other words, all time, and they're in a causality loop. So all time is affecting all time, all of the time. This is a really weird one, but some of the science shows us that this is true. Even though that's true, there is non-determinism in the universe, which means we have free will. And number 5, space-time cannot exist without a conscious observer. This is an extremely fascinating point and one we'll dig into quite deeply. And lastly, cause and effect relationships are valid in classical physics, but quantum physics tells us that all future possibilities can come about even without a cause. This also is very fascinating. So here's how, now this is very deep, go check out those sites for some more information, but this is really where I want to get to with you, is what does all this mean? Well, my translation of this science means to you on your journey in being the best version of yourself, these 4 points. Number 1, there is a universal, or in my personal paradigm, divine consciousness which sustains the space-time universe that we find ourselves in. Number 2, since consciousness affects how space-time emerges in the present moment, and we are conscious, free will beings, we play a part in consistently and consciously co-creating each present moment. Number 3, since everything is made up of energy, energy is information, and we are part of this universal system, then we have access to infinite amounts of information. We'll dive into that one too. And last but not least, cause and effect relationships are true in the space-time that we experience. However, since space-time also has quantum properties where potential futures are infinite, it is possible to co-create a future possibility in the present moment without the corresponding cause and effect relationship. That's a lot to say. But don't worry, I'll be going into all these concepts in detail over the coming weeks with you. However, for this week, let's focus on this last point briefly to wrap up. If you followed my advice from last week's post and you're working on your 2019 goals, then take this last concept into consideration. Let me say it again. Cause and effect relationships are true in the space-time that we experience. However, since the focus of space-time also has quantum properties where potential futures are infinite, it is possible to co-create a future possibility in the present moment without the corresponding cause and effect relationship. In other words, miracles are totally possible, and you can collapse space-time in the present moment to produce results much, much faster than you ever thought possible. So how does this apply to goals? Number one, stop thinking about goals in a linear cause and effect relationship model, meaning stop thinking that if you do A to produce B, that will help you produce C, which is what you ultimately want. Instead, focus on C, what you really want to create, and forget about the how and the when and the sequencing of events. This is a really big one for me to grasp, given my engineering background. But when you let go of the how and the when of what you want to create, you, in essence, are letting go of the space-time constraints. Letting go of the space-time constraints opens up the possibility of manifesting what you want much, much sooner and potentially in a bigger way than you ever imagined. Take this blog post, for example. Initially, my linear engineering mind was working on laying out a sequence of posts, i.e. the how, to walk you through many concepts over many weeks, the when, to lead you to where I ultimately wanted to go, which was the concepts presented in this post. But when I let go of the how and when parts of what I was planning, I was almost immediately presented with a couple of resources that provided much better descriptions of the physics behind the useful concepts. So this saved me weeks, if not months, of getting to where I ultimately wanted to go. So now we can move forward and leverage these concepts now to make 2019 even better than 2018. Look, I understand that this goal setting prescription probably goes against everything you've ever been taught about goal setting and certainly does not conform to the SMART goals formula. But give this 21st century goal setting prescription a try. I'm going to come back next week and dive a little bit deeper into it with the ultimate aim of setting you up to create your goals for 2019 to have your best year ever. Have a great week.